Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hi, everybody. It's Michael Menino, and welcome to Driven Unscripted Success podcast. Today on the podcast, we're interviewing professionals who share their experience with you on how they got to where they're at today. And zooming from the beautiful island of Buffalo, we've got a friend of mine, Shawn Glogowski. How you doing, young man?
I'm well, Michael. How are you?
Old and cranky. So,
Love it.
Shawn, do me a favor. We've done a little business together, and tell everybody who you are. And you're at Note Advisors. You've been doing this for about 25 years. 20 years?
20, not quite
20 years?
Yeah.
He knows how to advise people on what to do with their money. So do me a quick favor and tell everybody how you got to where you're at today.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, Note is a kind of holistic, full-service wealth management advisory firm, mostly centered around small business owners or professionals in the Western New York area, but we have clients all over the country now with, the world being virtual as it is. My partner, Tom, and I started it in its existing form about 12 years ago, but we've kind of had the path of my career has led me to where Note is today. So we just take a very holistic approach to helping people manage their wealth from what we call their position, where they are in life. We always like to say we meet people where they are. I often say, like, everyone has the stuff, all the things that we accumulate. It's what makes it unique to them is their goals and objectives. So I'm very curious by nature and being blessed really to having done this for so many years. I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of different situations. So I love helping people, meeting them where they are and helping them navigate, some of the big decisions that they have to make around not only the numbers, that's relative, the art and science of what we do. The science is relatively easy. What I love about it is the art, right? How does that individual interpret the data and interpret what they want to do? And somebody could be and look very much the same on paper, but what makes it unique is what they want to do with it and what their objectives are. Because that certainly, as advisors, it gives us a different viewpoint and the ability to direct people based on what they're trying to accomplish. So back to your question is, Note really was formed out of a relatively small team 12, 15 years ago, just trying to do that. We did that and we showed up every day and have been lucky enough to serve a really great group of clients and just love what we do. We're about team of 10 now. When Tom and I started it, we were a couple, 2, 3 people. And I think we've done a decent job of adding the right technology and the right platforms, but more importantly, the right human beings, because we are in a service business. So AI can help us with a lot of what we do. We use it every day, but without our people, I think we're not who we are.
I agree. This one person showed me a long time ago, so everything's people. And I didn't understand what he meant by that, but how do I put this? He showed connecting people is the key to this world.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, my Tom, who I give a lot of credit for where we are today, taught me that you could be the smartest, whatever profession you're in, right? Smartest real estate investor, the smartest financial advisor, the smartest attorney, accountant, engineer. If you can't create meaningful relationships, and I mean meaningful relationships with other human beings, to me, it doesn't matter how smart you are or how talented you are, because people by nature surround themselves with people they genuinely like, and they do business with people they like. And I spent a lot of time talking to my team about that, my younger advisors who are, starting out. We have a couple of really good, solid young advisors who are young and energetic, the credentials and the knowledge is important, but if you can't connect with people, not saying you can't be successful, but I have found once I owned that and adopted that kind of mindset, it definitely opens doors that you otherwise maybe didn't think were there.
I agree wholeheartedly. It's all people. There's a lot of competition in your space, and wondering what sets you guys apart. Is it the people skills? Is it how you help? Or, what comes easy to you that comes challenging to everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of get the standard line of our service model and our people, and that's all true, right? I think it is our team and the fact that we're not trying to be everything to everybody. We want the right clients. We want quality over quantity. We want clients who value the guidance of a professional and a partnership in a consultative way. Some people don't, they just, well, I'll invest my money, or, help me with this tax problem, or
Help me with this tax problem?
yeah. I mean, you get,
They're already in it. And
no, we meet people from all walks of life. And, I've met, like I said, I feel it's a blessing. I get to see so many different examples of what people do really, what has been done well, and what the kind of the other side of that too. So, but what if it's a transactional thing, whatever it is? A lot of it is around, I've got this pile of money, or I've got this money, or inherited something, or I just sold a business, or so. Yeah, those services, being really good technical advisors, I think is table stakes, right? That's not necessarily what sets you apart from the next firm. I often say to prospective clients, I say, as you're interviewing others, to us, what holistic wealth management means to us, I think, is what makes it different. Because we all say, if you look at 10 different firms, we're all holistic, we're all comprehensive, and we're all independent, right? So to note what that means, I mean, it's the right way, it's our way, is independence mean we work for no one other than our clients. Right? We have no brokerage affiliation, no insurance company affiliation. We don't work for a bank or a broker. Not knocking those people, but we work for our clients, like hands down, full stop. We're accountable to each other at this team, and we're accountable to our clients. And I would have it no other way. So that's important to us. And a lot of people don't realize, like, the vast majority, we're not the only firm who does it that way, but we are certainly in the minority, where most advisors are aligned with a broker dealer or a brokerage outfit or a bank or an insurance company that produces, some proprietary product. And they're essentially they're advisors too, but they're distributing a certain set of products, whether that's insurance products or investment products. Our product is our experience and our knowledge. So,
in your track record.
Yeah. And then we've done it for decades and have a really, like I said, a really quality group of clients that we serve. And I always say to my team, like, let's make sure we're going as deep as we can with the people who we already serve before we go out and find the next person, right? And we want to be really careful with who we onboard, because our culture, our back to what sets us apart. We have this, if you look at our website, and it's behind the wall behind me outside of my office, it's the word Eudaimonia. And a lot of people go, what is, that kind of tilted head.
The little head tilt, like
yeah. And that's our vision. Like, we went through this visioning exercise years ago, and of course, the consultant, we have these, long drawn out, our vision is this, and the kind of the standard corporate, and we came down to one word, and it was Eudaimonia. And the way I would describe that to somebody who doesn't know, the definition is, in 2 words, is human flourishing. And so I think Eudaimonia, I think it comes out of like the old Greek, and it basically means well-being, human flourishing, and living your best life, right? That's my term. But like, I think from an advisor standpoint, people have been so used to just like the very technical advice, which again, we can certainly give, but helping people, another differentiator for us is where I think I haven't found another firm where we actually have a wealth coach on our staff, right? She's not an advisor in a traditional technical practitioner sense. Christine is her name. She's spent the last dozen years or more taking the technical side, right? So like the 6-pillar process that we use as planners that we created here at Note. And then I'd say Christine's like the wrapper around that. And that's your relationship with money, right? Because I see it all the time. And I think we're in this age of technology and AI, where we can survive that for decades to come, is because until they put a chip in our brain and we don't think for ourselves and we don't have emotions, people, they see the data. And many of my clients today come, hey, Shawn, I put it in ChatGPT or Google Gemini, and this is what I'm thinking. Let's talk through this, right? And I love those conversations because they're using it as a tool to make them better educated consumers. And we can then say, all right, well, this is how it fits into your plan. And I think Christine, with our clients, from a differentiation standpoint, and back to my point before about how if they're interviewing 10 different firms, we all talk about behavioral finance and understanding there's a human being, but I think, to my knowledge, we're the only firm who's actually walked the walk and talked the talk of having someone on our staff that not only works with our clients to help them understand the decisions that they're making and why maybe they're paralyzed by a decision. I could tell you dozens of stories where I show from a technical side that, yeah, you can retire today. Or people would come in and say, well, I want to retire and I'm 60 years old. And I'd say, and when do you want to retire? 65. And the old me would be like, all right, we're going to put it in the software and we're going to project that out. And yes or no, you can do it. Where now I'll just ask the question, why? And I just sit in silence. And of course, they're like, well, that's what you do, right? They'll say things like Medicare and Social Security, and that's what my parents did, and that's what my friends are doing. What if we could show you could retire today? And they go, well, I've never thought of that. And they kind of laugh it up. They go, well, what would I do? So I don't know, that sounds like a kind of a fun exercise to go through. And so as advisors, we can help them, give them not only the tools and the resources to make sure the decisions they're making today in, say, 2026, what ripple effects that have over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but also like, if they're not making the decision, or if they're making the decision, the big thing I see is, well, I've made the decision, but I don't trust it. I see the numbers, but I don't trust them. And that comes back.
That's hard. That's hard for people. A lot of people have a hard time letting go of control.
Yeah. And it comes down to belief systems, and that comes down to right back down to the way you were, your first initial way you were raised, the way your family brought you up around money. And Christine's work helps put that wrapper around, again, our terminology around the relationship with money. I always say, like, the joke is like the Venn diagram, right? I always use this. It's the technical side, it's the human side, and Note lives in the middle of that, because we really, I said this to my partner Tom years ago. I said, if we're giving really good technical advice, but nobody's acting on it, or somebody's not acting on it, are we really making an impact? Are we really doing our job? So whether they being the client works directly with Christine in a in-depth kind of process, or just knowing that the clients that I and my other advisors interact with are better advisors because Christine is on our team and she sits in our financial planning committee meetings and she helps us design our financial planning process and helps us design the proprietary questions we ask people. We are better advisors because we have that resource to us. And then, oh, by the way, we can then extend that to clients as well.
Sounds like a valuable asset.
Yeah, it's evolved. It's something that, what I love about owning and operating a small business is we kind of see what we see today and how can we provide value to clients, because we're in the service business. And then what works today isn't probably going to work 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So we constantly have to be building on what works and then making it better. And that's one of the things I love about owning a business is you can do that. And as long as the clients love it, it's great.
Well, as long as the clients love it and it works, that's really the key. I found that the clients don't really love things that work. It's not hard to do once it works well. Wondering, if someone wants to get better at what you do, what would you suggest to them? What tips and tricks would you give them?
Time. It's funny because somebody will say to me, well, how did you build Note and how did you get to where you are, or whatever that means to them? Time. Just show up every day and put in the work. And this isn't sexy. It doesn't sound like it's fun, but I've seen, and again, blessed to serve dozens, hundreds of small business owners in a professional capacity. And I think if there's one common denominator, there's probably more than one, but one that relates to your question is they've all been doing it for a couple decades, and they just show up every day, and some are a win and some are not, but every day you lay a brick by brick, day by day, week by week, month by month. Yeah. And often I've seen it too, where the larger firms, the sales training, so to speak, is, well, all these tools and techniques and all these kind of scripts, which are all helpful, right? Like that you can always, I think of it like we have this kind of approach here culturally. I think it was Stephen Pressman's book. The name of the book escapes me, but he has these kind of 15 rules of what it means to be a professional. And it's a really interesting, and it goes across any industry, right? And it's like, how do you show up every day? What does it mean in your firm, in your company, in your family, in your culture to be a professional? And so probably about a year and a half ago, I started adopting this with my team and saying, all right, everybody, what does it mean to show up from a Monday morning team meeting to a client meeting, right? And so to answer your question about what does it take to get better, it's also reps, right? It's practice, drill and rehearse, and getting at bats and practicing and falling on your face. And what we were talking about a few minutes ago about like what I love about operating this business is we get to try new things. Not all of them work, but I think if you
Really?
at it from as a professional and you're doing your best to find a new way to deliver value to people and open to honest feedback. And if it works, let's keep doing it. And if it doesn't, it's not a failure. It's an educational experience, and you change it. And that's so long way to answer. I think how does somebody in my business get better? You got to find a group that it's so hard to do it alone. So find a team of people that you can trust and rely on, and that will give you the at-bats and the repetitions in practice, the sports analogy, right? Show up to practice as a professional every day, and then when it's game time, whatever that means, if it's a client meeting, if it's a prospect meeting, you're ready. And then what you do is every week, my team, we do this. We kind of have the film room, right? It's like, all right, how did those client meetings go? What did we do well? What could we have done better? And you just constantly work on your craft. And then before you know it, that's why I say 20 years goes by. But oh, by the way, I'm still every day trying to, it sounds cliche, but it's not. Like every day you try to get a little better.
No, yeah, that's the reason you're here. If you're not trying to get any better, why are you here? You know, with your marriage, with your kids, with everybody. That's a very good point. Trying to get better. I love that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, what you know, that's what this podcast is about. We're talking about financing and businesses and stuff like that, but it all relates to life. How you show up for business is generally how you show up for your family.
Very true. And if somebody would ask me, like, what do I wish I would have maybe done a little differently, a little earlier, I think.
Oh, you're missing my last question. You're going to hold off on that one.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Hold off on that one. Last one's going to be pretty good. I got a couple good ones for you, but
okay.
Let's go with, what is one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome in your career? That's always one of my favorites.
One of the biggest challenges, I think, in my career, in my profession, there's such a high failure rate. And I think
it's a high failure rate.
Oh, especially in like when you get, if you start in like the bank channels or the brokerage channels where
the banks are horrible.
Yeah. You kind of get thrown into the deep end, and those who can swim, but that definitely, like, I look back to like the first 3 to 5 years, and there were plenty of times where I could have called it quits and convinced myself I was going to, right?
Yeah.
But I always saw I loved what I did. I loved helping. I love being in a service business. You know, I tell my kids, they're 13 and 11, and I said, I don't swear whatever you want to do, but if you can find a business where you can create those meaningful relationships we talked about earlier and serve people, I think that's how you protect against the robots in the future, right? Is find something that you're passionate about, and that I don't care what that is. And I'd love to tell you there was like some grand plan when I was coming into this, but it's just kind of, life's funny how you open a door and you walk through it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But so from an obstacle standpoint, I think it was just getting through the first 3 to 5 years. Not that it got ultra easy after that, but in finding the path to where we are today, right? So Note was created out of kind of the mindset of like, well, I love this profession and I love serving people in this capacity, but there's got to be a better way to do it. So that when we kind of left that world and went completely independent 12 years ago, all of that was a huge obstacle and a huge challenge. And quite honestly, and again, I go back to my partner, Tom, I give him a lot of credit. when we'd made that move, he was in his early to mid 50s and could have easily said, it's just too much risk and too much change. Let's just kind of keep the status quo. So I give him a ton of credit for taking that leap with me, all those years ago.
I got to admit, we interviewed Tom, and he's just a great guy. He's just a great guy. And I could see how, if I was introduced to him 30 years ago, I could follow him relatively easy. He's just a good guy. He knows what he's doing, and he can share his vision and bring people in. That's just the gift of his. Yeah, great guy. You couldn't have picked a better mentor if he's your mentor. Sounds like things are going pretty well for you. Talking about the future, how do you show people or create passive income where you don't do any work and get make a lot of money for doing nothing?
Well, if I could figure that out, I think one of the ways is,
well, that's kind of what you do. The advice you give is for passive income, not active income, right?
Yeah, it's a good point. So it's wealth accumulation, right? I think so. I always say, whether I meet a small business owner, and even in my business, that you put in infrastructure and you hire people and you have, that ideally will create. The question is, to me personally, it's you create a firm that's valuable for others to work at, which then creates net revenue. Why does anybody own a business? So that's certainly for me is a way, and I'm constantly reinvesting in this business, and I want to own it for the long term. And I always say that build something where the rising tide lifts all ships, right? It's not just me. It's not just how do I maximize Shawn's personal net worth. It's how do, is that we, in our business, in the retirement business, certainly around Buffalo, and I think this is around the country, it's like best places to work. It's like, what about the best place to retire from, right? How do I use this business to help not only my clients, primarily that's where the service business, but help this team, help these people who are on this journey with me look back and go, man, am I glad I worked for Note Advisors all those years, because otherwise I wouldn't have. So that does kind of excite me. Not kind of, it does excite me. But from a professional capacity, I think trying to get people from a young age, and I'm seeing this really cool shift, totally unscientific here. It's just an observation of one person. But I think if you ask enough advisors, they would see the same thing. The pre-retirees, right? The 55 to 65-year-old generation today, which I think would be traditionally the baby boomer generation.
I'm the last baby boomer. No, I'm the first Gen X.
Okay.
65.
Okay. So
right before me is the boomers.
Yeah. So those people who reach that age of, what I would term as like pre-retiree, when you can kind of see the window in your mid to late 50s and your early 60s. I think the generation before that, the 75 plus the 80, not everybody, I'm generalizing here, but what I saw in my little microcosm was this in the older generations was like, it's very close to the vest. We don't talk about money, and you'll find out what I have when I'm dead. Where now that pre-retire, that 55 to 65-year-old we get this request every day and we love doing it, is, hey, would you work with my son and daughter-in-law? They're coming out of college. They're getting into their first career.
That's when you get
starting families. Because what they say is, if I at 50, 58, if I had known what I know today and had someone like pushing me to start the small things that don't really seem to add up to a whole lot, but do something, it's nibbling around the edges, right? It's doing the small, seemingly inconsequential things. Back to your earlier question about something around like, how did we get to where we are today? I mean, it's like, it's just
incremental.
You go, oh, this
step at a time.
This isn't that impactful. And then 10 years goes by, you go, wow, am I glad I did whatever that was 10 years ago? Because now it's compounded and whatever that means. So I think that's a really cool shift where that baby boomer generation is saying, hey, would you please proactively help this 30 to the mid 20-year-old to the 40-year-old, right? My generation, in my early 40s, I think my generation is lost on financial planning because most firms, I talk about differentiate, most firms.
What generation are you in?
Whatever, a 42. I think I technically would be in the millennial. I think I might be like the last.
You might the first millennial or
like that. I'm on like that border.
Yeah.
I should probably know, but I don't pay that close attention to it. But
you have to know. It's not that important.
But I think that's what I see is like the 30 to 40-year-old, you start to hit your stride, you've got a young family, your careers are progressing, you've got some disposable income, but my industry, my profession is kind of, well, until you have $250,000 or $500,000, we can't work with us. And I get why firms do that, because if they work for a bank or a brokerage that reports to Wall Street, you got quarterly, you can't take on a 38-year-old with good income that's not going to be, quote, profitable for the next 10 years.
Why? That's not help.
No. And well, yeah, because that doesn't report well in quarterly earnings on March 31st. And that's follow the money, right? So for us at Tom and I, we always said we can make decisions for the next 20 years, right? Some of my best clients today are people I sat with 15 years ago that were just starting out. And yeah, of course, we're going after clients who've already accumulated wealth, but we also want to plant seeds for my younger advisors. I want to work with that next generation of my clients' kids because one, they need the help, and two, they're receptive to it. So,
but the time, they don't understand time. So yeah, I'm going to screw this up. But Tony Robbins said, if you put in $300 a month from 19 to 27, you'll end up, and then another person puts in $300 a month from 27 till 65.
Yeah.
The person that put in from 19 to 27 will have more money than the person that put in. So the time factor of the youth is beyond their comprehension.
Because and that's true. And I used to use one, we still do, but like we advise small businesses in their retirement plans, their 401k plans. And I would get up in front of a group of employees and say, and do that exact scenario. Mine was always, if somebody from 25 to 35 saves $5,000 a year and stops, and then somebody starts at 35 to 65. So that $50,000, 5,000 times 10 versus the 150,000 starting just 10 years later, the person who just put in 50 and stopped has, I forget the numbers, but it's
I think it's a million difference from what mine.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And imagine if you don't stop and you just keep going, right? So that's back to that point of like this 60-plus-year-old generation is really in a good way encouraging their children to say, you know what, start some of this stuff today, right? You don't care if it's $50 a month, but start something.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And then I try and help people. My greatest help is just trying to give them the coaching that they need. Is when you have money and you've had fun, spent all your money on whatever your expenses are, and you have leftover, utilize that to make more money. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, have your little green soldiers go out and make little more green soldiers.
Yeah. And I think the original question was like, how do you instruct clients to like create passive income so I think it is that it's whether it's through obviously what you do. I know like big in real estate, and that's certainly, I have a lot of clients who do that. That's a great way. But whether it's real estate or just accumulating wealth in a retirement plan, but the goal is to try to build up and diversify your wealth to a way that when you get to a point, whenever that point is into the future, that you want to either stop working or do something else. Because again, micro example of one advisor here, but I generally and typically don't see retirement be like this hard stop date at 65, and now I'm going to sit in a hammock in my backyard for the next 20 years until I die. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, it's like, there's a lot of studies on this, right? I'm a big student of kind of health and
science,
health and longevity, and how to live a healthy life. Like, I'm just a nerd for that stuff. And
that's another podcast we could do.
I'd love to. Yeah. So, but it's purpose driven, right? So there's a lot of studies behind like having some purpose, whether that's, I don't care if it's tooling around in your garden or volunteering or starting a small business with your grandson. There's very rarely do I see someone just shut the switch off and then kick their feet up in a hammock with a margarita. I
would you agree, especially you touched on it with health and wellness. I've seen the majority of people that sit back on their lazy boy, I call it their lazy boy, they die within 5 years. Because you're getting up and moving and doing something. Just sitting down is more detrimental than smoking, drinking, and everything else I've seen in this world.
Amen. And I think there are periods of that, right? Because even in a transition of retirement, yeah, go take your still take your vacation, go to the beach and sit there and relax. But what's the purpose? And that's the biggest struggle I see. And again, back to why we brought Christine on is like, we as human beings, hardworking Americans, kind of tie our identity to our work, right? And that's natural. This is my purpose in life. This is what I've done for the last 20, 30, 40 years. And some people can turn that off like a light switch and move on to the next. Some people really struggle with that. And I've watched people,
because they were told that's what you're supposed to do, but that's not what they really want to do.
right. And you just did it. And like I said before you know it, 20 years goes by and you're like, well, what would I do? So that client says to me, well, yeah, if you showed me I could retire 5 years earlier, like, but what would I do? I would encourage you to spend some time really thinking about how exciting that question is, right?
You know what the answer to that question is? Here's what you do. Here's what I tell people. What would I do? Whatever you want to do. That's the key. You might not want to stop making money. You might want to start a new adventure. You might want to start investing in real estate. You might want to start building a florist shop, but do what you want. And then you really don't work anymore. Because what I do, I love real estate. I was looking at a house that turned into an Airbnb last night, and I was giddy. I was absolutely giddy. Not that I'm going to make money. It's just that it's just cool to turn a house into an Airbnb, and a bunch of people are going to go over there and have a great time. There's a boat slip right next door, so you can rent boats, and it's on the water. It's just super cool to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's not the norm, right? It's
no, it's not the norm.
And I will tell you, Michael, like most of people who come to advisors like me, they have accumulated wealth, right? So they can do whatever they want. And that's still even when they've amassed however many, whatever your net worth is, right? Millions of dollars.
Millions.
Doesn't mean they do what they want. And I think part of my value as an advisor is to help. I was joking with a client the other day and, accumulated, done well, live within their means. And their son lives across the country and they were flying out to see him. And I said, hey, do me a favor, go home and upgrade your flights to first class. And
there you go.
And she goes, well, I don't know, how expensive it is. I go, I don't know. I think you deserve it. And so that's a joke. And it's you're teaching them how to live. But right. And it's so whether it's flying first class because you can afford it and you've worked hard for it, or just volunteering at your local church, or helping your grandson buy his first house, or whatever that is. I don't think the primary goal should be at retirement to take a nest egg of, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 million, whatever it is, 100 grand. I don't care what the number is the goal. And this is what I ask people, because it's not my goal. I'm agnostic to the goal. I want to help them accomplish the goal. But is the goal to like retire with this and then at 85 have more? Or is it experience driven? Some people, I say all the time, like the consumption of goods and services, right? Meaning the stuff we all buy, clothes and cars. And that's one thing. I think I never hesitate to spend money on experiences, whether that could be a night out to dinner with my wife, or taking my kids skiing for the day, or flying to San Diego.
My daughter said, I want to go to Japan. You want to come? Yep. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, you can, you can do that. And it was an amazing experience. You know what I mean? That's the only thing you get to take with you. When you leave, all this stuff, it stays here. And you get to take all the time you spent with your daughter and your kids in different countries. And, it's just, enjoying your life is way more important than anything else.
Nope. And I've said it again, I've been blessed to sit with countless people of all walks of life, right? From the start to the end, right? In their 80s and 90s. And nobody, it's the cliche, any book you read on this, nobody says, man, am I glad I've got more money today than I had when I was 65. And now when I die, my kids and grandkids and charities are going to get it. I do start to see this back to the really, I think in a good way, a good shift from the pre-retiree generation, the retiree generation, the 65-year-olds today, is they are more experience based. They're saying, why would I wait and hold this money till I die when I can start to gift it and experience it with my kids and my grandkids and my charities today, right? I can help them buy their first house or buy their first car or start their first business and help them when they need it versus not that they don't need it when they're 60 years old, but so that's all that experience based. And I think that's a really cool place to be. That to me is probably a definition of success. It's not who has more zeros at the end of their net worth. It's like you said it before. I get to do what I want when I want because I want to.
That's the objective. That's an objective. That's my objective. And I've been blessed by God to have that for the majority of my life. I've never really had to, I've been self-employed since, 24, all of my life basically. And it's been a wild ride. And the best at my age and where I'm at now, I just like helping people, like showing people how to do real estate. It's easy. Well, I could get into another podcast. I wanted to talk to two more things. The thing before the thing that I wanted to talk to you about. You know about this a little bit more than me because you've been doing a little more schooling than me. I invested in some real estate, and it's a large sum of money. And because I'm a real estate professional, and we're going to do a cost segregation, I'm going to get a large sum bonus depreciation. Let's just say it's $100,000 from investing in this one property. Now, I have a Roth IRA, and then I have a regular IRA, right? I want to transfer from my regular IRA to my Roth. That's a taxable event, correct?
If the money in the regular traditional IRA was never taxed, that is correct. That's called a Roth conversion.
I call it a regular. Okay, yeah. So let's just say I had 100,000 in an IRA. I could take that 100,000 out on paper, actually, because it's invested in the real estate, and then put it into my Roth, have the taxable event, and then offset it by the cost segregation. So it would be basically taking a large sum of money, 100,000 into a Roth, which I would have to pay 30% taxes, correct? Around 30%.
It's going to be dependent on, if I recall, you're in a state that doesn't have a state income tax, so you would just have federal taxes. I think if you were, I forget.
I'm in South Carolina. No, I was in Florida.
Yeah, so they do.
Flooded my house.
It's right. You told me that. Again, in theory, yes, you're going to have a federal and state tax liability if the state you live in has an income tax to convert those dollars from a pre-tax IRA to a Roth. Yeah.
So I'd have to pay taxes generally, but because the offset with the cost segregation on a property that I have, it should be nullified. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the advantage you have is a lot of people, the vast majority of even clients I see who even own real estate are not a qualified real estate professional, right? So it's a great designation, and I often encourage clients if they're like in a business where they could get there, because just the offsetting of using the passive losses against that active income is
my personal profession. My perfect client that I help out the most is a doctor, and their wife's a real estate agent. I just want to look for those the rest of my life because I can just save them.
Now that she can be the
money.
It is a cool thing, but and we recommend, of course, everything's specific, but I think Roth conversion strategies are a great tool. So I'll say to somebody, because again, whatever answer they give, I'm agnostic to. So if somebody comes in,
you want to just help them.
I want to minimize the tax that I pay in my lifetime. Then that's a different set of strategies than if I say, well, let's say you have kids or grandkids, are you interested in learning about strategies that the Smith family across one or two generations, while you may pay a little bit more in your lifetime, but your kids and grandkids, the Smith family will pay less to the government over time.
Period of time.
We talked about time before, and most will go, yeah, I'm interested in that. And one of the ways to do that is through holding assets through death, Roth conversion strategies.
That too. You said holding assets through debt. My plan is to give all of them. I'm going to have a lot of taxes to pay on the properties that I own. Because if I 1031 exchange, I'm not only paying the tax on that one, I'm paying the tax on the previous one. So when I pass, my plan is to give it to the kids tax-free. So all the taxes weren't paid when they get it. And then they start paying taxes from there on.
Right. You could, yeah, I always say to people, we plan for the current law. Right now, the current law says,
yeah, that's true too. Yeah, that's another good point.
Step up in basis. And
yeah.
So as long as that still is, and then that's the beautiful thing about being a planner is like when things like last year, the big beautiful bill came out, or back in 2017, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, or 2022, the Secure Act, that gives us a flurry of work to help distill down, like, how does this impact each of our clients? And that it's different for every client. That's part of what I love.
Do you call them up and say, hey, if you did this, this, and this, you're giving them more information to help them pay less taxes, and they love you for it?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, so every April when we do our spring client meetings, we do 2 meeting periods proactively, and we of course meet whenever, but spring and fall. So around tax time, and then just around like October, some pre-year end. But when we were doing the tax planning, we take all our clients' tax returns, we put them through our internal process, and we run tax projections for them. And at that time, in spring of 2025, Big Beautiful Bill hadn't passed yet. So I say we had the opportunity to. My team was like, oh my God, we got to rerun all these tax projections. I go, yeah, and that's a huge opportunity to provide a ton of value, because what we told them back in April and May and June
is different.
It might be the same, but we don't know that. So and there was a lot of little things that we could do. Like we had a lot of clients last year accelerate their charitable gifting, because starting this year, there's now a 0.5% floor on their adjusted gross income.
Oh,
meaning if you had a $100,000 adjusted gross income, the first 0.5% isn't deductible. So if you give $1,000 to charity, you
wouldn't get a deduction for it.
Yeah, in that example, that's obviously $500. So if you gave $1,000 to charity, the first $500 isn't deductible, right? Where in 2025, so if you were going to give, I said, you don't want a client to realize, like, you could have made this gift on December 31st, 2025, and gotten the full deduction, and on January 1st, it's now half the deduction.
Right.
So that's a very simplified example, but like there was a lot of nuance like that. So to me, that's opportunity. That gives us the ability to provide value to people, and we love
help your clients. And I've noticed that when you help your clients, that they just send you more business.
Because it's work, right? It's hard. It's not, I think that
you work, people have an easier time recommending people that work. You said, I'm going to do this for you. And then you do that for them. That's all you have to do. Do what you say. And you'd be surprised how much business you get out of it. Am I wrong or right on that one?
I think you're 100% right. Tom, my partner, he said it for years. Show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, say please and thank you. And honestly, Michael, it goes back to building meaningful relationships. It's not hard. It's not an easy thing to do, because building relationships, I tell my team all the time, you could spend a lifetime I think of like deposits and debits and credits, right? The accountant in me. It's like you can spend 10 years or more putting deposits into a relationship, and it takes one thing that could derail that or hurt that relationship if you break that trust. But I think the more deposits you put in, the more forgiving. And I think we're human, right? You're going to make mistakes. And as long as you come in it in that way and you say, look, I'm going to try to give more than I get out of this relationship. Not every day, week, or month, or year it comes back to you, but it does. I mean, I agree. It's the long game.
Shawn, listen, I can't thank you enough. You've been amazing guest. Last question before we go. This is the one I wanted to get to.
Yep.
If you could do it over again, get back to your 20s, what would you do different, and what would you do the same?
Oh, yeah, we could spend a whole podcast on that. But I think what comes to mind is I would have taken control of my health and my health, nutrition for myself and my family. I mean, I think I've done that over the last few years. Just, I don't know, maybe I turned 40 and I said, you know what? Because I saw clients, they get sick and they get frail, and again, we said we could spend hours on.
That's a totally separate podcast, another hour and a half.
Yeah, your health is everything. And not that I was I think unhealthy in my 20s and 30s, but I certainly didn't. You look at what we pay attention to and what we think is important. And then again, I've seen a lot of really good outcomes, but I've seen, the clients say, well, when we get to this point, or when we get to this point in our lives, or when we retire, my wife and I are going to go do this. And then one of them has a health event, and you realize, man, and the fact that the heart attack or the stroke or the dementia at 65 or 70 started back in your 40s or started back in your 30s. I never appreciated that. And I think that would have only helped myself, my kids, but never too late to
everybody.
So I think that's
everybody.
One, just taking more control over health and well-being. And honestly, man, I think I'm where I am today because of the path I took, which was not perfect, but
you wouldn't have done it earlier. A lot of people say the earlier. I think what I'd do it earlier.
I guess leaving the brokerage world, if I could have done it 10 years earlier, I guess if you could wave a magic wand, of course, because it was such a freeing experience.
The right thing to do.
It wasn't, of course, easy or perfect, but so yeah, I think, but again, I came to that realization because at the time when I met Tom and where we were, that was the right time. But yeah, I think truly having a mindset of independence earlier would have certainly helped too.
Cool. I agree wholeheartedly. Hey, listen, I can't thank you enough. I've taken way too much of your time, and thanks for being on the podcast. And if anybody would like to get in contact with you, how would you recommend they do that?
Yeah. Email, website, noteadvisor.com, Shawn, SHAWN at noteadvisor.com. I often say too, like, I'm in the people business. I just love to connect with, I'll talk to anybody. Meaning I don't know if I can help, but always open for a conversation.
You can help. Don't even start. You can always help. He's being modest. Don't let him make it sound like he can't help you. I've been in real estate for 35 years. When I talk to Shawn, it blows my mind what he knows about taxes and wealth management. So thank you very much for being on the podcast. I can't take up any more of your time. Thanks again. And everybody else, please like and subscribe and hit the notifications for more podcasts. Appreciate you, and talk to you all later.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.